Good evening. I'm KK Holland, and this is Eye on the Issues. This evening will feature a show in two parts. First, a conversation with Carole Lutness and Ventura County Supervisor Steve Bennett about the Fair Elections Act, followed by a town hall with Congressman Henry Waxman that occurred in January of this year. With a single stroke of the pen, a conservative majority on the Supreme Court delivered a landmark decision that may affect American democracy more profoundly than any congressional law in decades. In Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, the court overturned a century of precedent, ruling that a corporation may donate unlimited money in political campaigns. Partly in anticipation of this ruling, and partly as a natural response to the increasing influence of special interest money in political campaigns, many groups and individuals have stepped forward to make a difference and help put people back in control of our democracy. One of those groups is the California Clean Money Campaign, which has organized to place the California Fair Elections Act on the June 8th ballot this year. Proposition 15, if passed by the voters, will allow candidates with broad support to receive public financing for campaigns if they forego private money. Here to speak with us about this issue are our honored guests this evening, Ventura County's own supervisor, Steve Bennett, and from the 38th District of Santa Clarita, we have Carole Lutness. Steve Bennett serves on the Ventura County Board of Supervisors, representing the citizens of District 1. He graduated in 1972 from Brown University with an honors degree in economics. Before being elected to the Board of Supervisors in 2000, Steve was a teacher and high school administrator for 20 years at Nordhoff High School in Ojai. Steve served on the Ventura City Council from 1993 to 1997, and he co-authored the Save Our Agricultural Resources, or SOAR, that has made Ventura County a national leader in land use planning. SOAR slows urban sprawl by requiring a vote of the citizens before greenbelt areas outside of the cities that are zoned open space or agricultural can be rezoned for development. Steve wrote one of California's toughest campaign finance reform laws for the city of Ventura as well as for the county of Ventura. The laws have dramatically reduced the amount of money needed to get elected. And in addition, Steve is a leader on the Board of Supervisors regarding the environmental policies. He introduced measures to replace county fleet vehicles with hybrids, reduce the number of county SUVs, eliminated styrofoam at county facilities, and makes county buildings more energy efficient, and pursues mandatory energy reduction requirements for large new homes. Steve, thank you for taking the time to speak with us this evening.
Thank you, KK.
I'd also like to welcome Carole Lutness, who began her activism when she was only 21. She was the only white woman in the NAACP in Morgantown, West Virginia, a hotbed of Ku Klux Klan activity. She participated in civil rights marches, sit-ins, protests, and went on to become a strong anti-war activist in the Vietnam War. She was actually fired from her job as a social worker in rural Virginia because of a "Don't Pay War Taxes" bumper sticker on her car. In 2005, she founded the SCV Fair Elections Campaign for Better Government Committee, which works to educate and inform the voters about the need for campaign finance reform. Now renamed the SCV Fair Elections Campaign, this organization is reaching out to PTAs, civic groups, churches, and senior organizations in Santa Clarita to tell them about the upcoming California Fair Elections Proposition 15, which will be on the June ballot. She is a psychiatric social worker for the LA Department of Mental Health, a union activist, was the Democratic nominee for the State Assembly in the 38th Assembly District in 2008, and was named the 27th most influential person in Santa Clarita by The Signal this past fall. Carole, welcome, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to get this discussion started by initially talking about why there's a need for campaign finance reform. Carole, would you like to start?
Certainly. I think this past Supreme Court decision has galvanized and awakened a great portion of the American public to realize that big money has essentially hijacked our government and our democracy. Especially since 1976, when the Supreme Court ruled that money equals free speech, we have seen more and more the takeover of our democratic process by the big corporations, and as a counterpoint, to a lesser degree, by the unions sort of being the Jack the Giant killer, corporations outspending the unions 20-1. But at any rate, it's essentially become a distorted system that I don't think our founding fathers ever dreamed would happen, that rather than having we, the people, in charge of our democracy, we now have the big money determining who is going to run and who is going to be elected, and then how, as Molly Irvin said, they got to dance with the ones that brung them, and we see that time and time again.
And KK, I just add two things. I certainly agree with Carole that money is corrupting every level of politics here. But just two facts. Just take the people that contribute to environmental organizations. They contribute to candidates. In the state elections, they are outspent 85-1 by the traditional development interest, et cetera, that are normally contributing to local elections, statewide elections, et cetera. So the other thing that I would offer is, after writing two of these laws, one for the city of Ventura and one for the county of Ventura, it is amazing how complicated you have to make the law to get around the various court rulings like Carole referred to. And in this country, more than any place else, it is very difficult to enact good campaign finance reform law like contribution limits and have it still make sense. We're going to have to change our law in the county of Ventura now as a result of the Supreme Court ruling. So what's nice about this is not complicated. It's not a 25-page or 30-page campaign contribution limit thing. This cuts through all of that, levels the playing field, and lets public money come in. And hopefully, you'd get two candidates both receiving public money, both of them completely independent of special interest money, and that would be great.
Let's get into some of the details of this. What specifically with this Proposition 15 that's going to be on the ballot on June 8th? What are some of the details of this proposition and what it proposes to do?
Well, what is going to happen is that there is going to be a pilot program that will allow anyone running for the Secretary of State's office beginning in 2014 to use public money rather than money from donations or their own money. And there will be a checkoff, a voluntary checkoff on your state insurance, state income tax, and also they will then begin to tax or have a levy of fee to lobbyists. Right now they pay $12.50 a year to be lobbyists in Sacramento. They will now have to pay $350 a year, and that pot of money will fund the any candidate who wishes to run. The candidate has to get 7,500 $5 signatures. That eliminates, sort of the quirky kinds of not reliable kind of candidates, and they have a maximum of $75,000 that they can actually raise with $100 limit. After they have qualified, they will have then a pot of money to run their primary, about $1 million.